Number 9. Eamon and Claire Goodbrand. In the early morning hours of June the 24th of 2019, after what was reported as a day of heavy drinking, a brawl erupted at a wedding in Bathgate, Scotland. The newlyweds, Eamon and Claire Goodbrand, spent their wedding night in separate jail cells after they were identified as the main aggressors in the fight, which took place at the Bew venue. The violence was sparked by a money dispute, and Claire, at the time in her mid-20s, launched a brutal attack on her mother, 44-year-old Cherry Ann Lindsay. The bride punched and kicked the latter in the head and body, hit her with a stiletto after she'd collapsed to the ground, and seized her by the neck, restricting her breathing. Former professional boxer Eamon and his brother Kieran assaulted Lindsay's partner, David Boyd. He was repeatedly struck and grabbed by the neck, while Eamon also pushed his thumbs into his eyes and bit him on the right ear and middle finger. The Goodbrand brothers punched and kicked the event's DJ as well when he tried to intervene. The fight eventually spilled into the venue's waterfront lawn and was captured on CCTV footage. The police were called to the scene and took the bride, groom, and his brother into custody. The trio eventually pleaded guilty to assault and injury charges, but none of them was given jail time, with their sentences involving community service and paying compensation to the victims in the incident's aftermath. Lindsay, who owned multiple properties, announced that she'd cut Claire from her will after reportedly realizing that she and her new husband were only after her money. Number 8. Katie Meta. Texas photographer Katie Meta was arrested while working at a wedding in Weatherford in November of 2018. According to official reports, a member of the wedding party had found Meta having intercourse with a male guest. The inebriated 26-year-old was asked to leave, but instead of doing so, she fled to a nearby fountain and started yelling at other attendees. The authorities were called to the Parker Manor and verbally tried to get the woman to clear the premises. Meta, who also worked as a swimsuit model under the name Max McIntyre, persisted in her unruly behavior and walked to a tree on the property where she began to urinate. After she was taken into custody and on the way to the police station, she allegedly threatened the arresting deputies. "Y'all's daughters are dead. Y'all's families will be dead by Christmas." Investigators believe that the woman's prolonged outburst had been influenced by her mixing alprazolam, the generic version of Xanax, and alcohol. Jail records indicated that she was charged with public intoxication and a felony charge of obstruction or retaliation. In 2020, Meta was sentenced to 18 months of probation, 60 days in jail, and 100 hours of community service. Number 7. Ramada Park Hotel Wedding Brawl. The Ramada Park Hall Hotel in Wolverhampton, England, became the site of a massive brawl on October the 12th of 2019 that left several guests of an Indian wedding bloodied and battered. Footage of the fight, which resulted in 3 people needing hospitalization, went viral in the aftermath. One of the attendees, identified as Aman Singh, later recounted that there were punches flying all over the place. The footage showed multiple men, a few of whom were bleeding from their heads, striking each other as guests pleaded with them to stop. Another attendee, who was not named, expressed disappointment with how the wedding had ended, adding that those involved were animals. The police were called to the scene at around 9:30 p.m. but didn't arrest anyone. The reasons behind the conflict weren't disclosed, but the wedding party reported that they were hit with a fine of over $100,000 for the damage they'd caused to the establishment. The married couple's family indicated that they planned to sue the hotel, alleging that their privacy had been breached by staff sharing footage of the melee online. They also maintained that there was a lack of safeguarding for the event, which they claimed was attended by 500 people. A spokesman for Ramada Park described their statements as ridiculous and entirely fabricated. Number 6. Gladys Ricart. On September the 26th of 1999, New Jersey woman Gladys Ricart was standing in the living room of her Ridgefield home, accompanied by her bridesmaids and taking some last-minute photos before she was due to get married. A limo was expected to take her to a chapel in Flushing, Queens, where she'd tie the knot with fellow accountant James Preston Jr. Shortly before meeting him, 39-year-old Ricart had ended a 7-year-long relationship with prominent Dominican-American businessman Agustin Garcia, whom she'd reportedly caught cheating with her best friend. Ricart was committed to moving on with her life, but Garcia was unwilling to accept the breakup. He consistently harassed her, at one point leaving a Bible on her doorstep and white roses on her lawn, described as a symbol of death in Dominican culture. On Ricart's wedding day, Garcia drove to her residence from his Washington Heights home, clad in a suit and carrying a briefcase. As he made his way into the house, he told the woman's relatives and friends that he was there to congratulate her. Garcia moved through the crowd and approached Ricart as she was handing bouquets to her bridesmaids. He brandished a revolver from his briefcase and opened fire on his ex-girlfriend. 3 of the 5 bullets struck the bride-to-be in the head, spine, and upper arm. A 10-minute video of the horrific incident was captured by a guest, and Ricart later died from her injuries. Her brother tackled Garcia as he tried to reload his gun and held him down until the police arrived at the scene. In the trial that followed, Garcia's defense argued that his had been a crime of passion and that he'd become temporarily insane upon finding out that Ricart was getting married only months after they'd broken up. He was, however, found guilty of first-degree murder and in 2002 sentenced to life in prison with parole available after 30 years. Number 5. Cake smashing incident. In April of 2022, a clip of a cake smashing incident at a wedding in the US went viral after the bride was left bleeding in its wake. The tradition commonly involves the newlywed couple playfully mushing cake into each other's faces, but on the day in question it went horribly wrong. The video, shared by TikTok user Iris Betsy Martinez, showed the groom smashing a slice into his wife's face. The woman unsuccessfully attempted to retaliate, at which point the over-enthusiastic groom mushed the entire top tier into her head, causing her to fall backwards on the floor. Afterwards, one of the guests pointed out that the bride was bleeding on her dress. Attendees then discovered and tended to a cut on her arm, believed to have been inflicted by the groom as he was still holding the cake knife at the time of the ill-fated smashing incident. The clip was viewed millions of times on the social media platform, with many users being critical of the man's behavior through comments that underlined it wasn't a promising start to their marriage. Number 4. Matthew Amos. 31-year-old Matthew Amos was arrested at his own wedding in November of 2018 after assaulting a teenage waitress who'd been working the reception. While at the Northampton Valley Country Club in Philadelphia, Amos had approached the victim, allegedly asking her to go outside and make out, offering her $100 to do so. When she refused, the groom followed her into a restroom, where he groped her and exposed himself. The teenager managed to push him away and fled. Officers were called to the country club a few hours later after Amos had punched a staff member who'd tried to stop him from taking alcohol outside the venue. The groom ignored the police's requests and began arguing with them before boarding a shuttle bus near the club. Officers then climbed aboard as well with their tasers drawn and took Amos into custody on a plethora of charges that included indecent assault, harassment, disorderly conduct, and resisting arrest. During the legal proceedings that followed, the teenage victim he'd assaulted was described as highly traumatized by the assistant district attorney. Amos' wife, Kayla, remained the most prominent supporter of his innocence throughout the highly publicized case, and in April of 2019 they appeared in court holding hands. A plea deal was drawn out by the man's legal team with consultation from the victim. Amos eventually pleaded guilty to misdemeanor charges of simple assault, indecent exposure, and disorderly conduct in exchange for 6 years probation. Number 3. Adam Gaudette. At his wedding reception in June of 2020, professional ice hockey player Adam Gaudette accidentally kicked his bride in the head during a failed dance routine. The Vancouver Canucks player had planned a striptease for his partner, Michaela. The shirtless and shoeless athlete thus danced in front of his seated bride as attendees looked on and clapped. He then turned around and tried to swing his leg over the woman's head. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to fully clear the rotation and clipped Michaela with his heel. Gaudet quickly checked to see if his bride was all right, and the Massachusetts-based couple laughed off the incident. A clip of the failed dance was later widely shared on TikTok, with most users commenting upon the awkwardness of the situation and some complimenting Gaudet's attentiveness towards his partner in the immediate aftermath. Number 2. Mahvash Legai. Iranian woman Mahvash Legai, aged 24, and her husband had just tied the knot in July of 2022 when one of their guests decided to mark the occasion by letting off several gunshots. While officially illegal in Iran, the practice is accepted and to be expected during special occasions, much like in other Middle Eastern countries. During the ceremony held in the city of Firozabad, one of the guests fired an unlicensed high-powered hunting rifle. The first shot was released without incident, but the second went through the bride's brain and skull before striking 2 other male attendees. The guests survived with minor injuries, but Legai went into a coma and later passed away. The shooter, whom local police identified as one of the groom's cousins, fled the scene with the weapon but was later apprehended. His charges weren't immediately disclosed, but law enforcement vowed to take tough action against him and others found in breach of the rules regarding celebratory gunfire. Number 1. Radu and Philip Cordinaianu. On January the 22nd of 2021, gunfire broke out during a wedding held at a country club in the village of Voiceover in the Russian region of Moscow Oblast. Just hours before the incident, footage captured at the event showed the newlywed couple, Radu and Christina Cordinaianu, enjoying the celebrations. Then, an argument erupted between 2 male guests on the bride's side and Radu, who was supported by his brother Philip. The motive for the dispute remained unclear, but as tensions escalated, the rowdy guests let off at least 7 shots. The Cordinaianu brothers were struck and died at the scene. The suspects, only identified as brothers Alexei and Vladimir D., fled to Moscow in the aftermath. They were apprehended 2 days after the incident, while Christina, who'd only been married to Radu for several hours, made a social media post honoring her late husband that included the words, "How am I going to live without you?" Thanks for watching. Would you rather marry someone without knowing what they look like, or be randomly assigned a house to live in for the rest of your life? Let us know in the comments section below.